Make sure we got audio. All right. Okay. Are you on?
Yeah, baby.
Can you hear yourself fine?
Yeah, everything's great.
All right. So it's March 15th. It's like doomsday. I'm Chris.
I'm Charlie.
And we are
Eight ballin', baby.
Eight ballin'.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have two systems going. I'm in my house. Charlie's in his house. We're both on quarantine. I'm high risk because my spinal cord injury, and Charlie is not. And who knows who's infectious at this point. So
Basically invincible. It's kind of cool.
that's good. That's a great way to be. It's a great way to think. Why don't you go walk into traffic and see what happens? See how that attitude
On my
works
way.
out for you. I'm joking.
I deserve that. No, you're right.
So it's Sunday, and I'm like, am I going to have a drink? And then I went and looked. I pulled up the Wall Street Journal at 6 o'clock when we were going to try to do this. Fed slashes rates to fight coronavirus slow down. So they're between 0 and a quarter. Stock market's going to tank. This virus appears to be pretty rogue. And I don't know what else to say. You said you seem pretty passionate about doing the show. What were your thoughts?
I'm, by the way, the music is still coming through on my end. I don't know if that's you or me or...
I'll just stop it. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, so things are changing, man. It's a different time out there. It's, I went out on the town a little bit today. It's kind of a ghost town out there, which is cool. I'm just excited because this is going to be a big opportunity for people who have their shit together to make a lot of money.
Yeah, but
If you know what you're doing, which I don't, this is going to be some good time to invest. But
so the way where I'm at, I'm going to lose a lot of money. I put myself in a position to be okay for a year or two, but I'm going to lose my ass. And a lot of people who are going to listen to this will probably be like, fuck you. Right? I'm worried about next month. But whatever. It is what it is. Your dad was here. He bought me some chicken and some vinegar.
oh yeah,
And we were
Nice.
talking about it. So it's just a weird time. I am more concerned about my health. I'm worried about getting sick.
yeah.
I feel it's weird. A few years ago, before Sherry got sick, her mom was dying of cancer. And she was at her mom's a lot. And it was Christmas vacation. And I was on the couch with the 3 dogs. And it was when I still had Toby and when he was sick, kind of dying. And I was happy to have him next to me. And I'm flipping through the channels, and on came the movie War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. Do you remember that? That whole movie had a tone of just the world is going to end. And I just remembered that like yesterday or the day before. And I've just had the feeling that I had the day I watched that movie. It's just, yeah, there's opportunity, but a lot of people are going to die.
Yeah.
So,
I shouldn't make light of it, I guess.
yeah, I mean the reason everything that's going on is because there's a pandemic and what appear to be unfolding very serious epidemics in different places, right? And I saw some charts on one of the news shows last night where they showed the cities in Italy that how the illness progressed, and they showed New York City and maybe Washington, and the trends were similar, which suggested, and they had a guy, they had the, I don't know if he was a doctor or an epidemiologist, but the guy who basically was the team leader for the effort that found how to disarm or whatever HIV from turning into AIDS. And this guy was like, we're trending the exact same as Italy. Which is not good. You know, and they showed trend lines in South Korea. It handled it in a way, or it unfolded in a way. I think they're kind of commingled, and they seem to have behaved in a way and managed things in a way that kind of curbed things. So, anyway, cheers to life.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I don't know. I'm not as concerned about the future just because whatever I do, shit's gonna happen either way. I'm one guy. I'm just trying to make primarily me safe, right? Best possible outcome from this. And it's kind of hasn't hit me yet. You know, it's like it's the wave is coming, you know, but you're like, the wave's not here yet. I'm fine still. Company that I work for sent everybody to work from home. The entire thousands of people just set them up in 3 days. So like, it's going to be interesting the next couple of months. I just don't know how bad it's really going to get. It's hard to estimate.
It could get really bad. It could get really bad where people you know die. People you care about die.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why all this shit's unfolding. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, there's a lot of people who are going to make a lot of money and more people who are going to lose a lot of money. That is what it is. I mean, if I had done things differently, maybe I would have been financially poised differently, which is fine. I mean, it's foolish not to do what you can, but I'm worried about me and my mom and my brother and his wife, and you guys and everybody else, you know, that we all get through this and live through it and live and are healthy on the other end. It's crazy times. Crazy times.
Yeah, and it's like, what do you do though? You know, we just gotta like hope for the best and isolate yourself. Really, social distancing seems to be the main way to combat any of this shit.
Yeah, and flattening, right? Those are the two things: flattening and social distancing. So here's something kind of a little lighter. So what I've done for the second week since I subscribed to these things is I would go through and check things and make notes on what happened during the week. And what's crazy to me is, like 2 weeks ago, we weren't thinking about this. It was something that was happening somewhere else. I mean, it was happening here, but I guess I don't know if America, we had our head in the sand or our leadership fucked up or whatever. But so a week ago, things have totally changed. So a week ago, here's March 12th. So it's the 15th, right? 3 days ago. There's a picture of J-Lo, and it's, can women really look like Jennifer Lopez at 50? This was a story in the Wall Street Journal 3 days ago. March 3rd, that's too far. March 12th, A Guarded Generation, How Millennials View Money and Investing. March 12th, ACLU. Yeah. ACLU sues U.S. for records of facial recognition use at airports. I mean, did you even hear of this story?
No, I have no idea what facial recognition. What's the problem with it?
Well, the ACLU is suing the United States for using people's photographs. So FBI, CIA, who knows? Probably FBI is apparently.
Go talk to the NSA. But they have no
Yeah,
issue
no,
with privacy.
right.
What the fuck?
Yeah, my intent was not necessarily to talk about these, which we can, but just
sorry.
how
Right.
how fast things have changed. March 12th, Middle East, U.S. allies strike Iran-backed militias in Iraq, which I don't even think people realize we still have special forces in Iraq. But anyway, that's 3 days ago. Big news. March 11th. So I'll do things that are less than a week old. Oh, that was about coronavirus. March 10th. Putin puts proposal paving way for new presidential term. March 8th. Oh, this is a week ago today. North Korea fires unidentified projectiles, in other words, missiles. Korea fired missiles a week ago. Did you hear about it in the news?
No.
That's huge. That was always huge.
Yeah.
You know, showing the
They're still
trajectory
doing that
and
shit though every now and then. Yeah.
yeah, but it would be news, and it's just it's crazy right now. It's crazy. I'm scared.
Yeah. It
I
didn't
am.
really hit me until, I think Thursday night was when I started getting like, all right, shit's, gotta start looking after myself. And sure enough, the next day I came into the office and they're like, everybody's going home. So
How did they set you up? Did they literally create IT that they didn't
like, you
have
just took the shit
before?
off your desk and brought it home.
And do you
it's all
get
the same.
fed all your information, or?
Yeah, everything's all the same. It's just literally at my house. The only difference is that some stuff goes through the computer instead of some hardware that we have, but that's the only thing. It's still, everything works fine.
And do you talk on your cell phone instead of a landline?
No, it's a computer line instead of my, I don't talk on my cell phone.
Oh, it's IOP or whatever it is.
Something
what
like
is
that, I
it?
don't know.
Voice over internet. VoIP.
Yeah, something like that.
So you have a headset that goes
Yeah,
into your
it's a great
computer.
setup. They did it in, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so I'll be working from home. So you kind of know what my job is, right? So for
Yeah.
people who don't, I'm a facilities operations manager, which means like I'm a building manager. So I had to put together on Thursday a plan on how we make the building cleaner and safer. So working with the company that like physically manages the building in terms of like janitorial and repair and all that. So we hired people who go around and sanitize what I kind of heard, and developed what I called high touch, high risk items. And then how do we revamp the way that food gets served so that we minimize, contamination, like close a salad bar so there's not communal utensils and stuff like that. So that's what I did Thursday and Friday. And then over the weekend, my boss called me. He's like, come up with a plan on how people are there as little as possible, but still doing your job. So I said, well, I
You
can
guys
work
have
from.
more of a. I was just gonna say you need more people in the office, right? Like at the building.
It's on Friday. So I worked from home on Friday. I drove to work. A buddy of mine called me because they decided that, so we have 3 campuses on one road in Detroit, or 3 buildings rather, that kind of make up I call it a campus. Anyway, he said, hey, let's have lunch today. We're not going to be able to go between the buildings. And I think they're going to send everybody home, or they're going to say, if you can work from home after this plan's rolled out from all the managers, you're going to work from home. But anyway, so he's on the corporate task force of the whole kind of coronavirus risk mitigation effort. And he was like, dude, what are you doing? He called me. I said, I'm on my way in. He's like, turn around. You're high risk. Get out of here. So I turned around.
Yeah, that's smart.
I turned around Friday morning, came home. I was talking to my mom before he called, and she was like, you're out of your mind. Why are you going there? So I think I'll probably go there once a week at like 5 o'clock, because it's a ghost town at 5 o'clock. You know, it's a tech center. Everybody's gone at 3. So I think I'll go in and do, you know, I would usually, most days I would do like a daily walk, like a safety walk, and look for just issues. So maybe one day I'll go in at 5 o'clock and look around, make sure everything looks okay, and then just rely on my guys.
You need a drone.
You know, it's interesting. Yeah, we've been presented with like security robots that would patrol the place, and physical drones that fly have been utilized to do, you know, outside observation. And they said they could
That's cool.
they could actually use them to fly around, because normally we have like a security in a van, and they patrol the campus, and you could use a drone. So
that's pretty cool.
yeah,
New age, baby.
man, this is wild. You're in one place, I'm in the other. This has a very similar vibe to you being here.
Yeah.
This is wild. So I may put this on YouTube. It's not our most structured 8-ball episode, but it's relevant, and it's pretty cool technology that I
It's very
literally
Man in Black, John Wayne.
started throwing together like 3-4 days ago. And here we go. It was just a few clicks of a button.
Yeah, me and Chris were setting this up. I say to him, I'm like, Jesus, this is like the most 2020 thing ever. This coronavirus, we're isolating each other, doing whatever remote podcast with each other through.
Here, I'm going to throw one thing up. So the lighting's off, but this is regular 8-balling, and you can see the empty mic. So that's where Charlie normally sits. So here's me in my spot and Charlie's empty seat. And here is the coronavirus version. So, I mean, check it out. Just in the matter of a week. I am... It's kind of cool that despite the fact that literally the world is kind of unraveling, we're 8-balling, man. Came up with a solution.
Yeah, and the gears are going to keep grinding. That's like the beauty of the age. But I miss Malcolm X, by the way, and my Globe.
You know, it's funny. Okay, do not set up a question that could potentially confirm doom and or gloom. But so we have our trinkets. So I've got my knight, and I've got my China good fortune frog, and
Ironically.
and where Charlie sits, we got a Chaka hand in his globe, and we never did it, but our 5-minute timer, and we got our pool balls, but we have an 8-ball, and generally we'll ask a question. What's a good question? What's a good question where yes or no are both kind of okay answers?
I was going to say, is everything going to be okay? But that's not a good question to ask.
It's not a good question. No, no, not that one. Well, you know what? From a certain perspective, everything's not going to be. I mean, the world will emerge from this for sure. It happens.
I mean, right? It's going to have to.
You know, I have. I'll tell you, I had myself in. I don't know how better to put it than like in a tizzy. I've watched lectures and podcasts and everything I could find on the internet that's recent and relevant to coronavirus, and it didn't, yeah, it did not settle me down. I was, there was a lot of good rational information, but none of it was like fun and
Don't worry
fruity.
about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Uh,
cool, man.
No big deal.
Nothing like that.
This is not no big deal.
Yes, this is. When was the last time you ever in your lifetime saw something like this?
Never. I was
Yeah.
talking to my mom. I went out to my mom's today. I drove out there, and we were talking briefly, and yeah, nothing like this. Nothing
Yeah.
like this. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll wind up being, I read back, maybe it'll wind up being just like H1N1 was 2000. I didn't remember this. It said the beginning of 2009 to the end of 2010. And
I remember it.
it killed 800,000 people over the course of,
Whoa. What?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So here's some interesting
flu?
things. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yep. Now, how many of those were just hastened deaths of people with underlying circumstances and or, age that
You can say on their way out. Yeah.
I mean, we're all on our way out.
Right. Well,
Conceptually, you start dying literally the moment you leave the womb,
right. Yeah.
right?
I like to
But,
think of it as the point where you stop growing and you start declining. But yeah.
Well, hey, can be 54 in May. I mean, yikes.
Nice.
But I mean, if you start
That's cool,
talking
man.
about
Thanks.
whether or not, I'm on the backside of my life, right? I'm not going to live to be 108, so it is what it is. But it's funny. I was talking about my mom about, there's a chance that you get the bad version, and it gets you, and you're gone. And she and I were talking about just, things. And my biggest thing is my dogs, man. I'm looking at them all. Lucy's over there. Sadie's on her pillow. Ricky's laying right next to me. I mean, they're all within 6 or 8 feet of me, hanging with her papa. And they're the kids around the house now that Sherry's gone.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
But so the most recent one, Sam Harris, if any of you people are kind of know the scientific community, Sam Harris he's a pretty, what's the word
Pretty
I'm looking
well-known.
for? Yeah, he's well known, but
Respected.
he's pretty, he's wide in his purview. So he had 2 different guys on in a 3 or 4 day span, and the most recent guy was the most optimistic of people I've heard, and he said he thought he was cautiously optimistic that 20% of the population of America would get infected, in that the mortality rate in his estimation is 0.6%. So what's that math? I mean, it's 1.2%, right?
330 million.
So is that right? Is it over 3 million people are going to die?
330 million times 0.2 times 0.0. No, 0.6. I don't know what that is. Math was never my
Times
strong suit.
0.2 times 0.06. Yeah, it's almost 4 million people.
My God.
It's a lot.
Wow, that's way worse than I thought.
That's conservative. He's the most conservative guy. More people are more along the lines of 50% are going to get infected, and they think it's more like 1 to 2%. So if you do half, so you got 330 million, so say 165 million and 1%, So
16 freaking, yeah, that's a shitload. Then why aren't people dying in, well, that many people dying in China and Italy?
well, we're in the infancy of this thing in terms of how it
Yeah.
totally plays out. And your dad was telling me some scary stuff that there are people who are getting infected, testing positive, then weeks later testing negative, and we didn't have a lot of time. So I don't know if this was in the U.S. or someplace else. I thinking about it, it's probably got to be someplace else. But then weeks later, they were testing positive again. So maybe this is some funky ass, scary kind of bug.
Well, the way I understand it, is it not man-made?
There's that suspicion, but so there is allegedly a lab in Wuhan that is some
Biological
say
pathogen lab.
like, it tantamount to a CDC lab where they try to develop vaccines, and to develop vaccines you have to grow diseases, and then it got out. And then there's others that are like, look, there's just, you have bats on top of lemurs, on top of chickens, on top of
Yeah.
dogs, on top of, whatever's. And they said literally the way, so people aren't wearing any kind of personal protective gear. They're just in like freaking sandals, shorts, and not even wearing gloves. And they're slaughtering these things and selling them. And the blood's mixing. They said it's just really, really, really bad. The blood's mixing, and that allows these things to kind of cross mingle, and people are just widely exposed. There was a National Geographic article that I read that I think National Geographic's pretty objective publication. That to me illustrated a lot of, if not irresponsibility, at least craziness in what people eat, how they eat it, how it's butchered, how it's marketed and sold and handled. It's just like fucking free for all. Like,
Yeah,
just
not everywhere is like over here where you get your steak in a nice shrink wrapped package, right? I saw a video of a guy literally eating live baby mice somewhere, not, obviously not here. It's like you do shit like that. There's, ritualistic stuff even that I'm sure doesn't go on as much as I made it out to be when I was younger, but like drinking the blood of like a live animal, mixing it in with, it's like, what the fuck are you, why do
so
that?
part of what this article said is there is, and it's not like all of China, but there are cultures within that country, and I guess it's in the southern regions of the country, where certain exotic things, and I forget, SARS came from a cat. It's a wild cat, it's kind of like a bobcat kind of thing that's more prevalent in Asia. And I forget the name of it. It starts with a C. But anyway, and now I'm losing my train of thought. But
Came from a bobcat.
just that one, these more exotic, and people want to eat tiger. I think there's this kind of antiquated thinking that the more wild and crazy the beast that you might eat, the more virulent it might make you, as a man or a human being or whatever. And then there's this this belief, behavior, or whatever, that you eat something either alive, like you said, the live mice, or something that's like not totally dead. And yikes, just weird cultural behavior.
Yeah, shit like that. I mean,
Now, so here we have, because of these markets that cater to that behavior, And it's funny. Somebody was like, "Well, that's racist." No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just a cultural thing. But anyway, it's racist because they're Chinese. Well, no, it's a
Is it
culture
not a
in a
fact that they do
region.
shit like that? Forgive me, but
Yeah, but they're
if you're
saying,
not
well,
passing judgment, what's the problem of just
well, it seems like
evidence?
if you get on the behavior of somebody that is non-white, it's racist, and if it's non-male, it's sexism or whatever, which is goofy as hell. But anyway, they need to shut that shit down. SARS,
Just stop it. Yeah.
coronavirus, COVID-19. This is not good stuff. Shut that down. Shut that fucking down. You don't eat that anymore. You don't need to eat that to live.
This might be volatile, whatever, fiery. Forgive me. Is that not a form of Darwinism? Like, what
It
else do you
is.
call it?
Right. So are you saying that from a certain standpoint, it's okay because, yeah, here's the thing. So a couple of these guys, or maybe it was one, but one of the things I was left with was avian flu. Avian flu is very, very bad. And they said that it is possible and statistically probable that eventually you continue doing this and they will develop an avian flu that's like a global eradication bug.
Wow.
I mean, this is not good. Again, hopefully it's not as bad as people think, but it's going to be, conservatively 18 months before there's, and here's another potential good side to this, but so 18 to 24 months until there is a vaccine. And the guy that seemed the most credible to me said that he thought that this virus is more like measles in nature than the flu, and it's not something that's going to what's the word?
Recur.
No, it's not going to morph, for lack of a better word, every year and be, this constantly changing bug where you're having to develop a new and better flu vaccine. It's like you get it once and you should be good for life.
You got the antibodies, you're ready to go.
Like measles or polio or something like that. So, but, that's, again, 18 to 24 months out, and how much havoc is this going to wreak between now and then?
You think this is going to last for 2 years?
It has to.
I feel like, and this like could be me misreading the situation or poorly informed. I thought that they said that they were reaching the peak in China already. Is that not the case?
There's going to be, no, there will be more peaks. So it's peaked. This wave is peaked. So when you go back, it's all about flattening, right? The whole flattening term. So if you don't they quarantined everybody. So what happens when there's still people who are infectious who go back out? So at what percentage?
That go back to China, yeah.
Yeah, right. So travel, but I mean, how many people go back out who are not? There's going to be people who are infectious. There just are, and how many people who've not gotten the disease and aren't immune, and it just keeps going. It's like the cold. So there's roughly 200 strains of the common cold, and the common cold's made up of about 50% of rhinovirus, 25 to 35% coronavirus, 15 or 20%, if I'm remembering correctly, this RSV, respiratory something virus, and then a handful of percent of unknown. And some of those you develop immunities to for life. Some of them you develop immunities to for a year or two or five, and then some of them, morph much like the flu, and you never develop immunity to. But that's why when you get older, you don't get as many colds, because you have some immunity to some, or total immunity to some of these 200 different viruses. Where was I going with this? Just so COVID-19, you want to flatten the curve, and, best scenario until there's a vaccine, there's just a nice flat level of illness so that hospitals don't tip over. Because the worst thing is that you're treating people, in gurneys in hallways.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's tough shit. This might be me bringing out my autistic side again, just thinking of the logic of it. But Adam Smith, man, still true even with this. It's not even economics. By looking after your own interest and bettering yourself, you're going to actually end up helping your better man, not even trying to do so. So like your fellow man, I should say. So like if I seclude myself and stay clean and don't do things, it's like other people aren't going to get sick either. But in the end, I'm looking out for myself, driven by the invisible hand.
Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, if selfishly you do everything you can to not get infected, well, yeah. And so there's this thing. It's R naught. It's like it's the replication. It's whatever. There's an R factor, and it's the multiplier. And they're saying that the R factor for this virus, most people are saying, is 3 to 4.
Oh wow!
So for every person that gets sick, they make another 3 to 4 people sick.
I thought I read 2.3, but I mean, the shit's changing every day. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So that right.
Yeah.
Right. So if you stay healthy, if you proactively don't get infected, then
in effect saving 4 people.
Right. You've just not infected, 3-4 people. So yeah, and it's when that R factor is less than 1, that's when shit fizzles out. Yeah. And when it's more than 1, it's and when it's high, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, the Ebola thing, that was interesting. I feel like a lot of people never thought about that until that happened. It was like, this disease is so deadly and horrible that it actually can't even spread because it kills the host before it gets a chance to.
Well, that's the thing, right? It comes on fast. The symptoms are obvious, and it doesn't have this latent period, and it's deadly. So between all those, and it's relatively hard to pass. Compared to, it's not an airborne thing. You got to exchange fluids. So,
right.
But
whereas
coronavirus,
this has an incubation period of a week or 2 weeks, right?
They're figuring that out, yeah. And this guy, they're all saying that it's contagious for up to a week or two before you show symptoms. And this most optimistic guy was like, no, it's more like 2 or 3 days. I hope he's right in all these things, because he was the last guy that I listened to. He was a Sam Harris guy, and this guy was either a doctor or a PhD, and either works at or is most closely affiliated with Harvard School of Public Health. He's somehow either on a board or affiliated with Johns Hopkins, who's kind of the lead on, I guess, coronavirus. So, this guy was highly credible and highly credentialed. And what was the one thing you were saying? The last thing. Anyway, this guy had the most optimistic numbers. And it wasn't because he was optimistic about it. It's just that he was. It's just his calculations were more favorable than other people, less doom and gloom. That said, what was the math? 1 million people, 3 million people, something like that.
3 million if it's not so bad, and then 16 million if it's 2%, like we're 1% if we think like it is.
Yeah.
could be as high as 30 million people, 32 million people. That's fucking insane.
Well, if you go the extremes, so I heard somebody say up to 70%, and
Wait, are we
if
doing
there,
the math wrong on that?
well, if let's just 70%, and if there's a mortality rate of 5%, that's 3.5%. So that's 10 million people, roughly, more, a little more.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's
That
spooky,
means-
man.
Yeah.
What's that? And this might also be, God, I'm the worst. Asympathetic or apathetic. What's the economic impact of that? Like tax revenue increase or decrease? Is there a burden? Is there not a burden? Like what's the case?
Wow. Who knows there?
I mean, 10 million people die. Obviously, people who are going to be, it's not youths, right? It's people who are older or have pre-existing conditions. This is
Mostly, but not. I've heard I saw one guy, I think he was from Texas, and he was maybe, if I had to guess, late 30s to mid 40s. And he didn't look like he was like a pillar of health, but, he wasn't old and he didn't look awful. And he was on a ventilator for like a couple of weeks.
Well, what if you're a smoker? Like that's already, like it's one strike against you.
Yeah, and I don't know what this guy's situation was, but he was, for several days just, an eyelash away from dying.
Yeah.
And Sam Harris, he had a good friend go out west, or not out west, out to Italy, a group of extreme skiers who are presumably, if not fit, at least more fit than your average bear. And
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 guys. 2 of them are in the hospital, one's on a ventilator. And these are guys who are all like late 40s, early 50s, really good shape.
They're like Alps skiers.
Yeah.
Isn't that high altitude? You got to have great lung capacity and shit like that for that. So that's
Yeah,
that's
and
not
he
promising either.
used the word they're all extreme skiers. So
So I would say probably super in shape, right?
at least
heart
at
and
least more
lungs
fit
wise,
than
yeah.
most, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're traveling to Italy to go ski, jump off cliffs and ski extreme terrain, yeah, one would presume that. And again, 2 guys hospitalized, 1 guy, on a vent fighting for his life.
That's rough. I mean, the travel industry is dead, right? Like that's over.
Yeah.
Saw $40
Yeah, my,
round trip, Colorado and back.
My nephew is in school in Colorado, and his 21st birthday is in April. And my brother and his wife and my mom were going to travel out with some other people and celebrate his 21st birthday, and that's obviously kiboshed. And he's all online on school anyway, so he may come home and do some of his schooling back in Chicago.
Yeah, my brother is like MIA, but he's 20. He's not risk at all. He could have already had it and been done. It's like
Like literally MIA. Like, where is he? Is he alive or?
I mean, I heard from him like a week ago, and when they were like MSU, go home, and he's not here, obviously, and I haven't talked to him in a few days. I don't know, but
What's he doing?
Reached out. He's probably just hanging out, studying, going to class online, like he should be.
Oh,
Watching this goddamn.
okay. So he's in school and he's just doing it.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think. How old is he?
20. Well,
20.
19.
19. I don't know. That's young enough. I would think I'd be like, you know what? I want to go home. I want to be safe. But I don't know. Shit. Maybe they're
for him to be here.
Perhaps. Well, I don't know.
And my parents are in the
I mean,
50s,
if you're in a
it's not risk
dorm,
that-
you're in pretty close quarters with a lot of people. Is he in a dorm?
No, he owns a house or rents a house.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, whatever. Whatever. I don't know. I would think. Shit, I don't know. Maybe kids on college campuses. My nephew seemed he was kind of holed up in his apartment, and he's got some health issues,
And that's smart.
but he was like he lives on the 5th floor of an apartment building. He's like, I get in this elevator. I don't know who was in it. 2 seconds before me. He's like, I want to get done and get the hell out of here. He wants to go home.
Yeah. That's smart. And like, nobody's gonna hold it against him if he does. I mean, what the hell? He'd be like, hey, my parents are like worried for my life. They're gonna, bring me back. Even.
Well, yeah, and in the asterisk there is, why do kids from the Midwest go to school in Colorado? Well, one presumable reason is to go skiing, which is
Yeah.
precisely one of the inspirations that took him there, and all the ski resorts were closed. Oh, you know what else? What's his face closed the New York City schools today.
Oh, really? I thought they never closed.
He was saying we can't do it, and today he closed them. I mean, shit
like
is
Georgia.
just happening fast.
Yeah. I wonder what percentage of the company is going to be WFH, or country. Sorry.
What's WFH?
Work from home. Sorry, lingo.
Oh,
You're-
a
I'm too
lot.
cool for you.
I think everybody
Yeah.
that can telecommute or whatever you want to call it is going to be sent home. I mean, it's fewer illnesses and flattening of the curve.
Yeah. My mom was saying, hey, what if you do field sales, and your husband works in a factory and you have 2 kids that go to public school? What the fuck do you do?
Well, it's funny.
Screw
I
it.
kept reading and reading because, until today, I was almost out of food. Because I rely on Shipt, and just
Yeah.
because I'm a little bit more high risk, I have no interest in going to,
Having a stranger.
well,
Oh,
just
you mean going to a grocery store? Yeah.
going to a
that's-
grocery store or Meijer or whatever. So I was close to being out of food, and what was my point?
What happens next week?
Now, what we were talking about right before that.
People who can't work.
Oh, yeah.
Field sales.
So it's like I can always, Wendy's has good healthy salads, and I'll go to T-Bell any day of the week. So I looked at, is fast food safe? And basically they've all said that it's not impossible, but it's not really viable that it would be transferred from person to person via food. I mean, somebody sneezed
And I
on a
bet you that
piece
they're
of...
just- yeah. I was gonna say, I bet you they're just ramping up like everything at restaurants. Like they're like, if people are gonna, like a restaurant, if you're not making money for a week, that's like you're out of business, right? You don't have fucking money to, you rely on that cash that week to pay those people.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't think, or I would think that, most people who, if you're a waiter, waitress, dishwasher, hostess, you probably are living, if not, check to check, pretty damn close. So there's going to be a lot of blowback financially, economically. It doesn't take long. It does not take long, 2, 3, 4 weeks. You can't pay your rent, then what? And you're going to be and that's not going to be like a one-off thing. So you're going to have landlords. Normally you'd say, all right, pay up or I'm going to evict you. Well,
Yeah.
what happens when?
Yeah. Well, I'll sneeze on you. How about that?
Yeah. What happens when
The government will step in. If they
Or-
haven't already, like shit out.
or if you own an apartment building and half or 2/3 or 3/4 of the people can't make their rent, what are you going to do? Hey, I'm going to
Yeah.
kick you out so nobody else can live here.
You can go into forbearance and stuff like that, and there's if it's a national thing or even global pandemic, the exceptions will be made. I promise you that.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
You know, normally my taxes are all done, and prior to Trump, I used to get a refund check, and now I don't. So I'm not eager to do my taxes anymore. But normally, I'm done. Like, I'm waiting for my last form. I fill it in an e-file, which is typically like mid-February. I haven't even started, and
I got my check.
It
was like 6 days it took. It was awesome.
I just don't have incentive to, and part of it's this, just to do that. Just don't care. Just don't care. What time is it?
10:46.
10:46. Yikes.
It's almost an hour.
Yeah, it's funny.
We
It's
talked
tomorrow.
about coronavirus the freaking entire time.
It's what time did we start?
9:53.
Wow. I was gonna say it's a work night, but it's weird because I can wake up, work for an hour, take a shower, work for an hour, have something to eat, work for an hour.
As long as
Phone
I roll out of
rings.
bed by 7:45, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just walk down the hall. I could just sleep in here, honestly. That'd be funny. For 3 weeks, just never leave this room. Yeah.
Is that your bedroom?
No, this is a spare. Yeah. This
You
lady's over.
need some stuff behind you.
Well, I did that intentionally. I didn't want to reveal anything about myself, my employment, or anything like that. But
Oh, really?
yeah, I have my side desk. Yeah, the desk is all here. Everything's up front. Yeah, and there's a whole.
You mean for the show or for?
Yeah,
Okay, interesting.
that's why I cleared this all off and put.
There you
There
go.
you go. I got my file
Okay.
organizer. What else do I need? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got 2 more of these cabinets, kind of semi in storage at my mom's, so you could throw them behind you and we could match. That would
Oh,
be
sweet.
actually
Those
that'd be
cabinets
pretty
are awesome.
cool. Who
We
knows?
got like similar shit to put in it too.
Are we going to be doing this for 2 weeks or 2 months? Who
We
knows?
could do like a daily update for 20 minutes every night.
Yeah?
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the settings. You saved this, right?
Yeah. Oh shit. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I saved it.
Yeah.
Good luck and good night. Yeah. Or
Right.
actually the other way around.
Right. All right. Well, hey, man, I'm getting tired. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to watch this, see if it's worthy of putting on Facebook as our first, like, highly publicized podcast. But this is pretty cool.
We'll see how much I'm lacking in emotion. Yeah, it is cool. Yeah. I think this is good. This is gonna be good. Yeah, let's do another one tomorrow if you want. 10, 15-minute show. Just do an update. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Comment
I
below
think
if you agree.
the computer that you have, I want that
Yeah.
back. I'm going to buy another one. That's the mobile computer. It's the exact same computer. It's just smaller,
Gotcha.
which
Yeah,
is
I don't
better
need
anyway.
all this. Yeah.
What's that?
I said I don't need. It's like massive. What is it? 17 inches or something like that.
Yeah.
18 inches.
Yeah. Well, that was the main computer when we first got started.
Right. Predator.
Predator. Well, that's what this one is. Just bigger and badder. All right, man. Have a good night. I'll connect with you tomorrow,
too.
and we can do something a little earlier. Hopefully,
Sounds like a plan.
hopefully we won't have too much to talk about.
Yes, hopefully.
That'd be a good thing.
But I have a feeling that's not going to be the case. It's Monday,
Yeah.
baby. The news is back.
Yeah, me too. Me
Um,
too.
Yeah.
All right. Stay safe. I'll talk to
You
you
too.
tomorrow. All right.
Take-
All right. Later, people.